Hello, I'm A.S. King. I'm humbled to be up here tonight. I started writing this speech from inside a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. It totally seems like something I would do, right? Writing a speech in an oxygen chamber. I actually really did it too. I wanted this speech to be weird. I think I'm doing all right so far. They told me I have 15 minutes. I'm mathematical by nature, so I divided by 10 and came up with 1.5 minutes per story in the collectors. And then I subtracted to leave space to thank people, and then it brought me to a minute per story. And then I subtracted to leave space to tell you about the guy at the deli, and it brought me to about 30 seconds per story. And then I thought about what 10 topics from these 10 stories I could talk to you about tonight. And these are the topics I came up with in order of the stories in our collection. Trapped women and daughters who save their mothers. White saviors and the denial and absorption of them in our cultures. Young love and how it matures us. Adults who make life harder and young people whose anger burns whole belief systems down. Hate culture as a distraction from corruption and exploitation. Abuse culture and the ways we escape it. The hierarchy of friend groups. Negative self-talk and our need to reduce or inflate to fit in, the importance and beauty of memory keeping, and the quest for contentment and how utterly short-sighted it is. When I did the math, I didn't have time to talk about any of those topics, so I tried to find a common thread. So I was at the supermarket deli the other day buying cheese, right? And the man next to me was getting his order weighed, and when the woman working there apologized for going overweight on his cheese, I said, completely uninvited, I don't know about you, but there's no such thing as too much cheese. We became instant deli friends. Now, as we waited for his quarter pound of bologna to get sliced, he said, "So you like cheese?" And I showed him my cheese tattoo. You're all welcome to look at it later. And this seemed to invite him to ask about my other tattoos. And he pointed to this one. And I said, "Oh, that's a self-portrait of Kurt Vonnegut." And he looked lost. And I added, you know the guy who wrote Slaughterhouse-Five? Friends, let me interrupt myself here and tell you that we live in a smaller bubble than I realized in which people know who Kurt Vonnegut is. I can't face that fact fully, so I'll move on. Anyway, I explained that Vonnegut is one of America's most brilliant writers, and his 1969 novel Slaughterhouse-Five, about the firebombing of Dresden, in which he lived through as a teenaged POW soldier in World War II, is a masterpiece of anti-war literature. I should add that the deli guy was white, cis, straight, and about 75, absolutely looked like he'd been through at least one World War II phase in his life so far. So anyway, he said he'd like to read it, and I gave him the title and the author and directions to the local indie bookstore, and then I remembered how Billy Pilgrim gets stuck in time. And I remembered the zoo on Tralfamadore. And I added, now look, it's weird. It's a weird book. And it's about war. And so it's kind of heavy. And it's weird. I just want you to know that before you go in. I've been thinking about it for weeks. The fact that I had the audacity to put a content warning on a novel for a grown man in America in 2024. I verbally patted his little head, and I warned him that the book was weird. It got me thinking, though, about the word weird. And what does it really mean? What did I mean? The answer came to me at 2 a.m. I sleepily dictated this email to myself. It read, I think the word weird really means humane. When people apologize for something being heavy or real, like I did at the grocery store telling the guy about Slaughterhouse-Five, I gave a content warning about humaneness, which made me realize that it's now weird to be humane. That's the most fucked up thing, isn't it? That it's weird to be humane. Now, I go so far as to say that the truth is now considered inhumane, which means there are groups of adults trying to save children from the truth, from reality. To them, being normal is more important than a kid being safe, being educated, or being prepared for the actual world. When people ask me why I choose to write for and work with teenagers, I say it's because I like to work with the segment of the population that knows how to do algebra. That always gets a laugh, but it's always true, so it's kind of good. But it's really because teenagers deserve a fair shot at adulthood without being bullied by normal culture, without being twisted into caricatures of half people who don't deserve respect yet. We laugh at their favorite things, their clothes, their music, their hair, their feelings, their loves. Then we cite it as rite of passage. We survived, so they will too. But the world has changed. Not only are teenagers living an entirely different reality than we did, they're growing up in a time where they're herded into classroom corners to practice hiding from murderers while their adults go around apologizing for recommending a book that dares to be humane. When I ask my contributors to be part of the collectors, I ask them to be weird on purpose. I ask them to be defiantly creative. No rules. Go wild. I told them that there is emotional currency in weirdness. There is emotional currency in weirdness because it's now weird to be humane. There is emotional currency in weirdness because it's now weird to tell the truth. Emotional currency equals validation. Do you see me simplifying the equation? Weirdness is validation. And the common denominator is every single person in this room deserves humaneness and didn't get it at one time or another. Every single person can relate to the emotional currency of weirdness. Our pockets are bulging with the tender of other people's unhealed actions, fear, anger, shame, embarrassment, and grief from things that were done to us, things we couldn't control. And deep inside, it makes us feel a lot of emotion, but in every case, it makes us feel weird. Now, what no one told us is weird is humane. Weird wants you to tell the truth. Weird wants you to cry when it's time to cry because it's not weird to cry. Weird is a hug. Weird is a friend. Weird wants you to tell it what happened to you and how it can help. We have, in this country, reached a time of the intentional removal of humane. They remove humane books, humane policies. They remove humane ideas. They target humane people. They target writers for young people and librarians because we are a humane chorus. We sing of kids living through real reality while adults around them pretend they're not. Our babies are screaming. We're the ones with the ears. 10 people won this award. I'm honored to be speaking for us, but I don't want any of you to think I'm comfortable up here on my own. Now, I'd rather have somehow pulled off the whole Sound of Music Von Trapp cuckoo formation dance. Right? Can you see Tobin going cuckoo? That'd be awesome. Or any of you, really, but Tobin just felt like a you thing, right? Anyway, instead I opened with a story about cheese. All right, Anna Marie McLemore, Randy Reby, David Levithan, Jenny Sanchez, Corey McCarthy, E.E. Charlton Trujillo, Greg Neri, Jason Reynolds, and M.T. Anderson are 9 of my favorite authors and human beings on earth. I owe every one of you thanks for your brilliant minds and hearts and stories and for saying yes. I wish you could have seen how scared I was to ask you all. I wasn't afraid of, you. I was afraid of the risk that is making a new thing. Each yes made me really emotional. I was terrified. And you have no idea. I got up from my desk chair each time you said yes, and I did a lap around my office like a champ. And then I was so honored you said yes. And I was so petrified that you said yes. Thank you so much for saying yes. Michael, Brett, you said, you don't want to do that. And I said, no, I really want to do that. I'm just right, you and me right here. I think it turned out all right. I think we did okay. And thank you, Mike And also, I have to shout out to Anton at Penguin. Well, I knew that would get a laugh over on that side. Anyway, Penguin team, that means all of you. I can't list all of you, all right? But Carmela, Vanessa, Trevor, Jen and Julie, and the whole editorial team. And I got to throw the artistic eyes of Anna and Teresa and Vanessa for the cover. Thank you. Andrew Carr. I'll do one of these for Shannon. What a gift you gave me 17 years ago when you said yes. After 15 years and 500 no's. I am so proud of you tonight, seeing how your support of writers who take risks pays off.
That's right.
What vital work you do. I'm so honored every time I get to work with you. Thank you. Not one career in this place tonight was self-made. We are a community. We're a team. These days we're in zone defense, trying to keep books on shelves, queer kids safe, history available, and shame-filled adults out of our YA sections. Yeah. Librarians, you're marvels. If I had any control over the way the world works, you guys would be in charge of every fucking thing. And oh, committee. What a shock you gave me. What a beautiful shock. You made history. You gave this award to an anthology of short stories. Then you handed me the handsome task of calling every contributor, each one once a lap around my office, and telling them the news. Several had to be reassured the next day and later in the week that I wasn't pranking them. That's not a lie. That's how weird you were for giving us this award. Thank you for taking the risk. As a lover of, teacher of, and believer in the short form, I'm so proud of the history you made here. You know, YA work is often squeezed into a single marketable definition when in reality we're still inventing what young adult work is. And with each year, the definition expands. Good. Good. Let's keep making weird, wonderful history, all of us. That's how we speak to every teenager. And it's how we heal ourselves and our readers and our worlds. This speech is about magic, the algebra and alchemy. Writing is a science, really. There's process and order and chaos, just like physics. Elements to mix and not mix, like chemistry. There's raw biology in words and feelings. We specialize in the organs of empathy, empathology. It's a weird science, an oxygen chamber. Makes normal people screw up their faces. Have you heard that trees can send each other messages, nutrients, love, and support through their incredible underground root systems? They do this without ever having to watch television or go to church. And here humans are in 2024 banning books, banning history, and banning actual human beings, hating on each other because they're so scared of the weird, of the truth, of the reality. This is what writers dissect and draw in our notebooks. Our labs are our hearts. This speech is about magic, the algebra, and the alchemy of love. This brings me to our 10 stories, each one a humane balm for the weirdos, which is everyone who is willing to humble to the truth of themselves. Because of these stories, I want to go vertical on a skateboard while my friends watch. I want to cover an entire wall in banana stickers and fall in love. I want to list all the memories my mother is forgetting, and I want to tell her I'm sorry for how the world treated her because she's a woman. I want to walk right into Miranda Asturia's house and every other house that harbors unsafe men and tell them they are not welcome. I want to go for long walks with Jenny's Lucia and tell her that her mother's always with her. I want to make damn sure I never wish that any moment could last forever. Not ever. Ever. I want to talk about the Museum of Misery, which could be shorthand for America right now, and I want to figure out how to stop the hunters from aiming at our babies, protect trans kids, if for no other reason than it's the right thing to do. I want to evict all the ungrateful tenants living in the high rises of the rib cages of kind people everywhere. I want a real white savior show on TV, a real discussion about the trauma and the pain that seeps into us from stolen and shoplifted soil. And I want to store every special thing in a jar, in an endless closet, and then escape it all in a tank, yelling from the cockpit, childhood is precious. It's when we learn how to be humane. What in the hell did you do to yourself? What the hell were you thinking? This book healed me. It's hard to quantify healing. Magic, I tell you. Weird magic. We are wizards book people, collecting feelings, experiences, and details we notice and stirring them up in these cauldrons we call books. We work with battle-weary kids whose adults can't see the war. And we heal them, too. To serve children in times of war is a reflex for artists. It's like throwing up. I throw up the truth. I developed an illness while I was in my own war. And it was creative expression, and I got real good at it. And now I get paid to stand at podiums and tell people the truth. Our babies are screaming, I say. What do you think about that? I say. I get to tattle on the world and shelter with stories that reflect the truth for children caught in the crossfire. That's what all these collectors did here. It's what we all do. We serve children because we've all been children. One of the most urgent things I warn teenagers about when I see them in their schools is the disease of what normal people call growing up, a symptom of which is the disconnection from our teen selves and an unhealthy accompanying disrespect for youth. It's giving projection, isn't it? It's giving shame. It's giving shame. The opposite of humane, shame. The mocker of weird, the innards of every bully. The worst thing we can do with the wonder of youth, our own included, is to be cynical. And yet every day we grow up. It's excruciating. Every day we fake a little more. Every day we hoard 100 more doubts. Every day we lie about stupid shit when facing it would set us free. I urge you, let's rise up and remember who the fuck we are and what we were sent here to do. We are all of us collecting ourselves. We are artists. We are art. My phone has 57,000 pictures of my life on it. I can show you all I've collected there. My humanity, my escapes, my contentment, my short-sightedness, my rib cage full of high-rises, my near deaths, my anger, my pain, my grief, my joy, my love. In this room, there are millions of pictures just like mine that we can trade so as to humble to the truth of the matter. The truth of daughters who save their own mothers. The truth of the systems built to end us. The truth of adults who reduce or inflate so as to maintain the illusion of control. The truth of hate culture. The truth of cowards who claim to protect children while removing all the emotional fire extinguishers from their schools. The courageous can't stop hearing the screaming babies. The courageous scream with them. The courageous expose the lie of women and children first by pointing at our dead and asking, why do the hobbies of violent men matter more? Look, the deli guy will either humble to the reality of Vonnegut's war, or he will reject it, citing sanity, citing morality, citing knowing better, clinging to the lies it takes to be normal. Normal is for cowards. This is a speech about magic. We are collecting our legacies. We are validating our ancestors, saving our descendants. Tonight is a small chapter. This award is part of all of us now. A reminder of the thread that runs through every good thing. One of the most humane things you can do for the youth of today is be weird and tell them the truth. What stellar timing. What a relief. Thank you so much for listening.